Why does everything fun cost a fortune now? I think about when I was growing up, you could go to a movie for under $10, you could go hang out at the mall, and it kind of seems like those days are over. And I want to talk a little bit about the idea of like funflation and how it is reshaping our entire social landscape and also our economy. So the first thing I want to talk about is kind of the slow erasure of kind of free places to exist. And I'm talking about, libraries, community centers, recreation centers. Here in New York, for example, they recently ended the library's 7-day opening. And I know this sounds small, but a lot of times if people want places to hang out, they often have to pay money for it. And this is happening everywhere. The idea of America's third spaces, which are spaces outside home and work where we used to gather, are disappearing, or if they still exist, they cost money to kind of enter. And I'm talking about coffee shops. You typically have to pay for coffee, or restaurants, or even bars. And inflation is hitting those places a lot. And so, beers or drinks or coffee at those places is becoming more expensive. So the cost of admission for these third places is going up. I'm not just talking about the spaces, I'm also talking about the activities, things like concert tickets, sports games, Disney. The cost of all those things has gone up significantly, partly because of inflation, and a lot of times it's even outpacing inflation. There's also something called hobby inflation, where things that would bring people a lot of joy would also bring community together, has also become more expensive as the cost of materials has gone up. So what's now happening is that we have created a society where existing in public has in some ways become a luxury good. And where do people go when outside is too expensive? Online. And that's why we're seeing this general trend of people spending a lot more time on screens, on digital media. Studies have shown extensively that digital spaces cannot fully replace physical connection. In-person interaction provides psychological benefits that screens can just not replicate. And so the result of all this, which has been well documented, is this epidemic of loneliness. And, as a certified financial planner, you might be wondering, well, why are you bringing this up? Loneliness costs the economy $460 billion annually. Like when we feel isolated, we make riskier financial decisions, we become more vulnerable to scams, we spend more money to kind of buy our way out of loneliness. And that's why it's so important to point out these things as someone that talks about money, because it's not just a social issue, a cultural issue, it's also an economic issue. And that's when we talk about things that potentially help the economy, we also need to recognize community spaces as essential financial infrastructure, supporting local businesses, maybe creating third spaces that we want to see. And if you're interested in more insights on how social trends can shape our financial behaviors, you should check out my newsletter, Your Brain on Money, and the link is in my bio.